These are listeners Chris and Paige. Let's watch.
Basically expressing we was reopened to starting over. I have paused my thoughts of divorce for now.
So they're about to have some sort of therapy session, I think, with the therapist. I'm not sure. And they just saw each other for the first time in a while. They decided they were going to start over. And he asked, or she, well, they both agreed to that. And Paige is being very nice about it. And he comes in and then he just starts going on his phone. What age of a individual would you think someone was if I described that? That there's two people sitting in a room and there's an expectation of them interacting, and one of them is just on their phone the whole time. You know, that's usually something that we associate with children, teenagers. And it's just another data point along the lines of when he is distressed, which I think he is. I think he is in a lot more stress and distress than he gives off in an obvious way. And when he is under distress, then he will, I think, regress to a 13-year-old way of thinking of, you know, because 13-year-olds, they don't care. Some of them do, but on average, and they shouldn't because they're younger, they're children, 13-year-olds, they don't necessarily care about your well-being, you know, which is fine. You know, if any of you have had a 13-year-old who does this kind of behavior, you can relate to this. You go to Thanksgiving and there's like, you know, 6 people around the table talking and stuff, and they're just in the corner on their phone. Because 1, they're insecure. 2, they'd rather be interacting with these other people. And 3, they just don't know what really to say, and they don't really care about how they're coming across to you because they're not at that age yet where they have that caring. You know, they're more self-centered. They're more like, it's uncomfortable for me to go over there and interact with those people. I don't know what to say. I don't have anything to say to them. I don't even want to be here. So I'm going to do the next best thing and I'm going to be on my phone. And that's okay. When you're 13, that's okay. But if you're traumatized during that time and you retain that defense mechanism as an adult, then you might look strange as an adult when you're doing that sort of thing.
What do you want with Paige?
I don't want to feel pressure. I don't want it to be you have to call me at this time, this many times per day. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels forced.
Okay, so I appreciate the marriage and family therapist asking these questions of what do you want? What do you want out of this relationship? It's a good question. I would want to ask that as well. And for Paige, she said she would like more contact. She would like to talk on the phone, maybe once a day or something. And then the therapist asks him what he wants, and the first thing he says is, I don't want to be pressured. So it's an interesting response. And I wonder what is going on inside of him. And if I were the therapist, I'd be like, okay, so you don't want to be pressured. Makes sense. But let me re-ask the question, what do you want out of the relationship with Paige? What do you want? Don't think about what she wants. Don't think about what people want for you to want. But I want to know what you want. Very important to understand. Let's see if we can get there.
Like, slightly.
What are you being forced to do?
I don't know.
Can I be honest with y'all? This is the least forced scenario I've ever seen. You've got another human being.
So I don't think this is an actual therapy session. It's on a reality TV show. She is a therapist. She's a licensed therapist, marriage and family therapist like me, doctoral level like me. And she is on a reality TV show, so I don't think this is a session, but I will evaluate it kind of on that basis, although that might be unfair. She is saying, so he says, I feel like I'm being pressured, and then she says, I don't think you're being pressured. Okay, so if this was a therapy session and this was my trainee, I would say, why are you doing that? And I would ask the therapist, what's your point? Are you there to argue for the wife, or are you there to help them? And what's the goal? And that's where I would start. Now, again, this is a reality TV show. It's not a real therapy session, but it'd be important if I were sitting there, I would want to know what they wanted from me. I do not impose therapy on people. I don't impose an agenda on people. So I would really want to know, Chris, what do you want from your relationship and what do you want from me? What do you want out of this meeting? Now, Chris might say, I don't really want anything. Then I might ask Paige, what does she want? And Paige might, I'm guessing, say something like, well, I'd like there to be some kind of conversation where we can talk about things. And then I might facilitate that. But I wouldn't fight people's fights for them, because why would I be doing that unless I had some kind of an agenda? And often the experts on the show, I think, have an agenda to push them together, to make them stay married, even if they don't want to. We've seen this happen before in other relationships. Now, you could argue that maybe some couples just need that extra push, but I think this couple is in a different category than that. And if I were there, I wouldn't be interested in imposing any kind of spin on what's happening. I would really be wanting to know from particularly Chris, because Paige has made it clear she's up for it. She, is willing to play ball. She wants to make this work if Chris wants to make it work. But we haven't heard anything yet. So far, Chris has said he wanted a divorce. Then later he said he wanted to start over. And then when he arrived here, he went on his phone. So there's been a lot of indications that he doesn't, if he wanted to quote unquote start over and wanted to make things work well with Paige, he would have come in the room, hugged her, kissed her. How are you doing? Eye contact. Let's talk. Let's hang out. And when Paige said, I would like him to call me once a day, he'd be like, sure, no problem. Of course I want to call her because I'm in love with her, or I'm married to her. I want to make this work. But the first thing he says is, I don't want to be pressured to calling her once a day. So it's a chore to call your wife once a day. That doesn't sound like someone who wants to be in a relationship with her. And so as a therapist, I would want that to be clarified, because I wouldn't want to push him towards her when he's kicking and screaming the whole way.
Being here, who wants to continue to try something. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, it's pretty minimal. I mean, she said a phone call. She said a text.
Right. So the therapist, who I don't think is operating as a therapist in this moment, this third person, is basically trying to convince him, just do what she says. She wants you to call him once a month. Just do that. Why would you want to force someone into a romantic relationship against their will? We all understand that when you're in love with someone, or you're attracted to someone, or you want to get with someone, you want to call them on the phone. It's not a chore. You want to be with them. You want to hang out with them. In fact, typically all you want to do is be with them. You want to stare into their eyes and be like, oh my goodness, you're just the bee's knees. So why would you want to push him into it? Why are you arguing with him? Because I guess for me, I just think these two should, I don't know, but it wouldn't be unwise if they broke up, particularly because Chris is giving off multiple vibes. I'm not attracted to her. I want to be with this other woman. All these messages of, and they don't even seem that compatible anyway, personality-wise. But anyway, let's continue watching.
You're going to have to change your idea of what motivates you. I think it would be lovely if you felt strongly and passionately about some sort of direction, but the fact that you don't doesn't make your journey stop. That's not the way life works.
So I don't think she's not saying it directly, but what I'm hearing is, because he's saying, yeah, I just don't feel 100% into her. I don't feel 100. I'm not into her. I'm not into this relationship. I'm not sure about this relationship. And instead of saying, okay, well, let's explore that. Sometimes we have to explore and discover, what are the pros of this relationship? What are the cons? Is there a path forward? Instead, what she says is, you're going to have to change what motivates you to lower your standards, essentially. The implication is, I hear you that you're not into Paige, but that doesn't change the fact that you're supposed to be with her. Because Paige, I don't know what happens in the future. Maybe they get married and they live happily ever after. I don't know. Seems doubtful, but who knows? But the main issue is Paige's well-being. Because the impression I get is that it didn't work out. put aside the fact that they got quote unquote married on a reality TV show. They met, they did not get along. One was not attracted to the other. It didn't seem like it was the right time in Chris's life to get married, and it didn't work out. They tried it for a week and it didn't work out. But I get the impression that everyone around them, particularly Chris, is like, you have to go back with her. You have to go back with her. You have to go back with her. And he's like, but I don't know if I want to. But no one's listening. And so everyone is conspiring. And the person who is really suffering from all this is Paige, because Paige is sitting there going, she's being pushed around. And everyone around Chris is also in the conspiracy to prolong a relationship that is seemingly not going to work out. And it's just, I don't know, it's frustrating to watch.
I'm not in the business of wasting anybody's time, and I don't want my time wasted either. So I'm just kind of at a place where I'm frustrated because we literally made a step forward and now we're making like 3 steps back. So what are you comfortable, can we just start with that? What are you comfortable with at this point?
That's such a weird question, and I get where Paige is coming from, but you're asking someone, presumably who on paper wants to be with you and wants to be married to you, what you're comfortable with in terms of a relationship. The question that she should be asking is, do you want to be with me? Because I'm hearing that you don't want to be with me. Actions speak louder than words. So you're saying you don't even want to call me once a day. You feel pressured if you want to contact me once a day. Do you want to be with me? That's the question that needs to be asked.
I'd rather do it in person.
Okay.
It's sad because it's so confusing.
This is what I'm saying. What are we doing?
I don't know. What are you doing?
I don't think he wants to be with her. I think he's been pretty consistent on that. And if I were Paige's friend, I'd be like, run. There's so many red flags. Even if he wants to be with you, which is, there's a lot of evidence that he doesn't look like the two of you are compatible. There's so many more compatible fish in the sea.
What does that look like for you?
I'm free after 8.
Okay. So what is the plan or activity and our desired outcome for that day?
So I haven't really commented on this yet much, but Paige is coming across as someone who, so on one hand, you could say Paige is extremely nice, extremely accommodating, extremely kind, very forgiving, very patient. On the other hand, you could say that she isn't in touch with her needs, because I think one of the reasons perhaps that I'm reacting strongly to this couple, and maybe a lot of other people, is that when you're around someone, I don't know if this is true, I could never know anything about these cast members, but for Paige, it's possible that she suppresses her needs or isn't in contact with it, or suppresses her anger or something. Something is being suppressed that is happening for her. And when people suppress their emotions, other people tend to express them for them. So when we watch the show, it's possible that given Paige's past traumas or what her personality, she is suppressing her needs, she's suppressing her assertiveness, she's suppressing her anger, her need to say, hey, I don't feel good about this. She's getting rid of those feelings, and then us as the viewers are feeling it for her because there's an absence of that expression, and we feel, we're very empathetic creatures usually, and we're very social creatures as humans, and so we notice when something is going wrong in other people. We can feel their feelings sometimes, and if someone is suppressing a lot of the feelings, then we might feel a lot of it. And I'm just noticing there's just this pattern. So they're going into this activity, and that was assigned to them, and Paige is not, she's mainly interviewing him, which has been the vibe between the two of them up until this point. It's a lot of her saying, where are you? What do you want? How are you doing? And Chris, I don't think has ever been the other way. why isn't Chris the one that's filling this out and saying, okay, Paige, what do you want? But that would be so weird to us because for their relationship, it has never happened. And it is a sexist, gendered idea that men are supposed to be, the cool guys that sit back and they don't think about emotions and they don't do silly assignments. And I can't tell you how many times I've ran into that with couples that I treated. Most of the couples I've had for the past number of years have been really great about this, but I've had couples in the distant past where the man would, I'd give him a homework to do, and the man in a heterosexual relationship would just avoid it because it doesn't seem very manly to do that sort of thing and is overly vulnerable. So I don't know, I'm beginning to worry about Paige because if she does suppress a lot, then she isn't going to be able to express or even know what's going on for her such that she can get her needs met and have justice in her life, really.
Like your favorite genre, TV, movie?
Action. No movie, though.
Okay. Friday.
Let's play basketball.
So you see it? She's asking him, what do you want? And then she's writing it down like she's a servant or something, servant to his wishes. Where is Paige in this equation? What does she want? She deserves at least half of the conversation here regarding what she wants.
Wednesday or something.
You have a conflict?
Mm-hmm. How about I purchase food and bring it?
Okay. So...
I have to say, this is an extremely awkward conversation and exercise. I didn't hear the exact directive that the therapist gave them, but from the looks of it, it's making a plan for the next couple weeks. What a weird... Who dates like that? I mean, God bless if someone did, it's fine, but I say this because it's clearly... So if someone just didn't know anything about this and they couldn't see them and have an indication of age, they would think that this was a mom making a chore list for their son. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.